we just went and talked to people. Our mindset changed completely from the start of all these conversations, because I realized as a marketer that data might tell you the conversions are low, but you won't be able to understand specifically why it's low.
Hey, Yuliia, and welcome to CMO Convo. I'm so happy to have you as my guest today. How are you?
Hi, Michal. It's great to see you. I'm great. Yeah, the weather is perfect. Everything's fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm also good. I'm also enjoying the weather. We had a heat wave, and now it's a bit cooler, so we can breathe again. I think in
Same,
your place is the same case, right?
same. But I think it's gonna be another one in a couple of days' time. Like preparing mentally for that.
Yeah. So, Yulia, maybe before we dive into our very exciting topic today, which is B2B, B2C, and B2B2C strategies, would you mind sharing a bit of a background about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Yulia. I work in marketing and communications for almost 14 years already. So my background is brands, comms, growth in product-led companies across Europe. Previously, I was working as communications director at BlaBlaCar. It's the world's leading travel app, where I led communications across several European markets. And more recently, I focused on marketing and a pet insurance startup in the UK. So dived in lots of different complexities of selling something that is deeply emotional, but also so technical. Yeah. So my whole career was about, solving these marketing puzzles. They don't really fit into specific B2B or B2C mold, and making sure everything stays human. Um, yeah. And outside of work, I'm a bit on travel, cultural deep dives, because I used to work in international environments. Yeah. Excited to be here.
Yeah, sounds very cool and exciting journey. Thank you very much for sharing. So maybe we can start, on more of a higher level. So for our audience, maybe not that familiar for the term, what is B2B2C?
Yeah, so basically, my whole career has been about figuring out why people choose one product over another and building trust about it. So in travel industry, I worked across multiple countries, and I understood that there is no universal marketing comms approach. So everything needs to be adapted to a specific culture. Trust is crucial, so there is no a specific marketing playbook. The same as in pet insurance, the same as in other industries I've been working with. So when I got into the pet insurance, I realized that there is like some influencer in the middle, like in between you and your end customer, which is usually like a B2B. In pet insurance, it's usually like a vet clinic, for example, that is shaping the pet owner's decision. And so basically, you end up selling not to the pet owners directly, but you have to understand how to communicate with this influencer that stays in between. And that's when I really got hooked on this blended B2B2C ecosystem, because I think this is basically like an ecosystem with lots of different audiences that interact between each other. Yeah, and then I just started exploring everything I could find about them. And I understand that there is no such thing anymore than that's like B2B or B2C. There's like B2B2C, the line is so blurred, they are so blended, they are so interconnected. And you as a company just need to think how to design, how to build for these these two audiences at once.
So maybe we can unpack that a bit if you don't mind. You mentioned that the line might be blurry. How, or maybe you can share what are the first signs of understanding that actually you're not only doing B2B, it's actually B2B2C.
Yeah, so basically, just to paint a picture for our listeners. So in the pet insurance, for example, imagine you are a dog owner or a cat owner and you're buying a pet insurance. So usually you're not Googling it on a lazy Sunday, you're buying it because your pet brings it up after an appointment. And even if the website of this pet insurance is amazing, if the product is amazing, the vet mention is what seals the deal. And that's basically B2B2C in action. So you have to make sure the customer loves your product, but also that the vet trusts you enough to mention it to the pet owner. And this is fascinating. And it really pops up in other industries too. Like we'll talk about it later, probably. But you cannot just make market, you cannot just market straight to the end user because there is always someone in the middle who shapes and who enables this decision. So at Waggel, for example, what made us realize that there is no specific like separated B2B strategy and another one for B2C is that, of course, we ran lots of different classic marketing stuff like performance campaigns, lead gen campaigns, conversion funnel optimizations. This is like a classic marketing mix, of course. It is in any company. But looking back, I think the biggest like aha moment was realizing that these channels alone didn't explain why pet owners were choosing us. So basically, many signed up because their vets brought us up, but the brand wasn't really set up for that kind of endorsement. So when digital ads brought visibility, it was great. And we were gradually increasing our brand awareness and trust, but we didn't have this possibility to get the answer why a vet should feel good about us. And that made it clear that the challenge wasn't just, selling online. It was about building credibility. And credibility is always about like building relationships. So we had to shift like our mindset from these D2C to like B2B2C and think more about this like collaborative marketing, trust-based marketing. And this is where this idea of like B2B2C appeared basically.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating, and I would love maybe if we can unpack this a bit. Oh, you mentioned the word trust and credibility. How do you build that with kind of like let's call it or refer to a third party? Are there any methodologies to start initiating this discussion, or how do you even raise trust and credibility with a third party?
Yeah, so basically, if to answer in short, we just went and talked to people. So like our mindset changed completely from the start of all these conversations because I realized as a marketer that data might tell you the conversions low, but you won't be able to understand specifically why it's low. So like we had so many conversations with vet clinic. So we just organized meetings like in Zoom calls, in Google Meets, offline meetings. We asked so many really simple questions like what annoyed them, like what would make them feel good about talking about a specific pet insurance. They also helped us understand how pet owners think because obviously you as a marketer you love to run all these marketing surveys, NPS. This is always there, but I think real insights come when you just go there and talk to your potential partners, to your potential customers. So we learned a lot about pet owners. We learned about all these pain points. I think we finally understood how this B2B explained all this pet insurance stuff to B2C. So basically, we understood how they interact between each other, and that was gold basically. So in the end, it felt like we got like a real empathy, but also so many practical insights you'd never find in any dashboard. So that was super, super useful. And I think all those insights really changed the way how we approached our like go to market strategy, because
Mm.
it changed the way we thought, because it wasn't just, taking all the pet owners in the UK and pushing them through a funnel and like calling it a day. See, it just made us think a lot like, okay, how do we make this B2B part of this ecosystem talk easily to this B2C part of this ecosystem so that they can interact in a very simple way. And we are in a position to just provide them all the tools they can, interact with. And then pet owners can make like the final decision.
So thank you very much for sharing that. What come to my mind is actually two things. One, that you're actually creating a lot of enablement for the vets, right? For the third party, because they need to know how to sell essentially your
Exactly.
product. And then the second thought that I had in mind is it sounds as if that you need to create a lot of influence. So to influence both the vets to sell your product, so they really need to believe in your product, and then also to influence the end user, the consumer. So can you maybe share a bit on how do you create this influence on both sides?
Yeah, so I think my personal biggest learning was that you need to accept the fact that you don't control it, which is a nightmare
Sounds
for marketers,
really,
right?
really challenging. I think that one of the most impossible missions for people or for us human in general is to accept things that are not in our control. So how do you do it as a marketeer? And you want
Exactly.
to provide results, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we want all these dashboards and all these data, right? We can rely on and build our
Measuring
like strategies on.
performance.
This
Yeah.
is Yeah, but you have to accept it that there are so many things that are out of your control. And then you start focusing on this enabling and supporting those influencers. So it made us thinking a lot about our messaging. So we shouldn't use any jargon that made people's eyes glaze over. And pet owners are generally really anxious people about their pets. They think a lot about them. This sounds so nice and cute, but on the other hand, there is so much anxiety, and it's like the brain of the pet owner is always thinking about the best ways to get their pet's life easier. So our main mission was basically to understand, okay, what can we do about that? So all these small details mattered, basically, like making sure our leaflets are actually really, really useful, not just nice. And they are really clear. All this messaging are really clear. I think the biggest shift was realizing also that you couldn't just get a few clinics on board and then scale it immediately. That was like
Mhm.
another learning. It's not possible because it's all about like this trust and these relationships and nurturing them and like making sure it's a long term so it felt win-win for everyone. Yeah, so like in the marketer's head, it's all it's all very mixed as we are focused on data a lot and insights. But I think when you're working with this B2B2C ecosystem, you are like stepping into this really messy but also like fascinating world where you are thinking like simultaneously about multiple audiences and figuring out how to make it all basically work together. So you're thinking how your product looks like, whether everyone trusts it, but also about all the resources that make it easy to explain, and like all these ongoing conversations are helping to shape the product, to simplify messaging, to understand like, okay, we should work more on this part, or we should work more on this like additional, marketing materials, or we just need to constantly communicate and continue having these conversations, even if we think we know already a lot about everything. So sometimes, like all these like additional talks are really really helpful. Making notes about how they specifically answered your questions, like which words they used, this is so helpful. We found it really helpful during the first phase of like understanding, okay, what do we have here, what we are working with,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, sounds really interesting. And also another thought that comes to my mind is the brand. You need to create brand awareness and certain type of different education probably for the B2B, so for that's the third party, but then also for the consumer side. So the brand awareness probably aspect is also very relevant in this type of strategies.
Yeah, definitely. Brand awareness and like generally making sure there is a brand trust is so crucial here. And it's like another addition to the fact that there are so many things that are out of your control, and this is like a really long-term journey, because it's not you're not like you're not able to build your brand awareness in a couple months, right? Like everything's changing. You can speak to one vet clinic, then go to another, and you can have like so much different opinion on everything, like so different approach how they work with pet owners, so different view on like the industry in general, and it makes things like even more complicated, because like you finally found these insights from like a couple of vet clinics you had conversations with, but then you go to others and you have like a plenty of other things you need to unpack. But like generally all these insights are helpful. It's just the matter of time, and like the matter of how you think about them, and how you then structure them, and how you prioritize. And then you go back and basically think about all those things, like brand awareness. Should we like work more at this point to make sure like everyone knows about us? Like how do we communicate? Should we change our product messaging a little bit? Like how do we position ourselves? So yeah, so while working so much on this B2B2C, like the most fascinating thing is that you are also going back to it is making going back to basics, and to understand, okay, what it do we really communicate clearly about everything we're doing, or we should change something.
Yeah, yeah. So, I would love to ask you, and maybe you can share from your perspective, and also, of course, for our listeners, what other type of industries should we expect to have B2B to C in? I mean, is it more like fintech, edtech, or any other type of industry? So, we wouldn't be surprised when we start a new job position in a different industry that we know. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So healthcare, I think, is a huge one. For example, pharma companies that are needing doctors to prescribe their meds, or there are so many platforms that connect doctors and patients, like ZocDoc is one of the most well-known one. So the company needs to think how to win over both like clinics and patients, and they can obviously think about like different what messaging should we use for both. Like, do both clinics and patients trust us? If no, why? How do we like increase that level of trust? I got lots of insights from fintech. So I think fintech in general is packed with this model. So companies like Stripe, for example, they sell to developers and businesses, but also they think about how to make this payment experience simple, seamless to their customers, which are B2C. Klarna is so popular currently in Europe and in the UK. So they work with all the retailers. I think they've already onboarded like pretty much all of them. They are integrating them. Obviously, they have like a specific strategy to do that, but also they market directly to shoppers with all these like buy now, pay later features. And this is fintech, so you have to be super clear. You have to be like very transparent, so that customers understand like what's your objective, how you can be helpful. Square is kind of similar to me, so they have this hardware and software they're selling to merchants, but also they design the payment flow for end customers. So they also need to to work their marketing strategy somewhere in the middle so that they are like transparent and clear for both audiences. And since these audiences interact with each other, so the company should be like should really understand like, okay, where are we in this process? I think edtech is classic too. So many the line is so blurred between like B2B and B2C in edtech. Like, for example, platforms like Google Classroom, Kahoot is one of the well-known platforms which connect teachers and students, but also they work with schools. So they need to make sure there is a good adoption on the, teachers and like school staff before the platform reaches out to students. Unlike Coursera, for example, they have so many universities, but also they have us learning on Coursera.
Yeah.
Yes, I think honestly, anywhere there is like an influential intermediary, you use really great word like influencer because they really influence like the end customers' decisions a lot. So yeah, it's like health tech, healthcare, fintech, travel, ed tech. You're dealing with all these B2B and B2C, whether you planned for it at the beginning or not, you end
Yeah,
up
whether you
with.
understood it when you're enrolled to the to the job or not. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Definitely.
I would love to ask you, what is the biggest mind shift that us marketers need to do when we're working in these type of spaces? What do we need to kind of like understand from the get-go?
Yes, I think to be honest, the mindset is like the most important, and this is amazing how your mindset is changing over time. And so for me, I think the biggest shift in mindset was realizing that you're not you're not gonna work separately on these two audiences because if you do, you miss how they interact. And I think here it's like it's the biggest fear. It's just to miss this understanding how you because your B2B strategy could be amazing. You could set up all these KPIs, all these objectives, you can launch it, it could be perfect. The same is with B2C. But I think the biggest potential mistake is just to miss this opportunity to like to have something for both of them so that you clearly understand how they interact and you understand your position in all of those because that's where this real magic but also big challenge is happening is like designing for these both audiences at once so they instead of competing in your marketing strategy they like reinforce each other. Then I think another change in mindset is that you have to accept the fact that your end user isn't your only customer because you are earning trust with this intermediary too. And this trust, you have to understand that it's a long-term story. You won't be able to earn it in like 3 months because this means investing in relationships you don't really fully control. And this like don't fully control is like another change of mindset because it's not about, data insights and dashboards. It's about all these relationships, testing out different messages, maybe even changing your products on the way. So it's in general, I think you have to be ready that it's going to be a bit messier and probably slower. We as marketers don't really like when it's really slow because we want to test, learn, go, scale, etc., etc. But it could be slower. But I think once you figure it out, it's much more satisfying, because you're not just buying attention, you're earning trust. And as soon as you do, it makes things so much easier, I think. Yeah. So I think these are the main mindset shifts.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you very much for sharing. So, Julia, we're about to wrap up this lovely episode about B2B2C. And I would love to ask, is there one type of learning or something that you would love to emphasize before we finalize this episode?
Yeah, so lots of different learnings to be honest, but if to take one, I would say it's just go talk to people.
I
It
love
sounds
it. It's my best
because
advice as well.
yeah, because like all these field insights, they are so much valuable. They could be even more valuable than like funnel metrics because it's the place where you get all these like real insights. Yeah, you can then, of course, have all these dashboards. You can set up all these KPIs, all these objectives you have. But yeah, but start with just having all these conversations. Ask really simple questions, even if they sound not really smart for you at first. Just ask them just to understand that you start from the very beginning. And then at some point, yeah, your strategy will be more clear, will be like easier to understand, easier to present back to your team. But yeah, but I would suggest just to start with the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I love it. It's also the best advice that I can give to myself or to others. Just talk to people.
Yeah.
Just talk to people. You would be surprised how much you would learn if you just sit and listen. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because like keep it human. At the end of the day, it's like people trusting other people, whether
Yeah.
that's a vet or like an accountant or a teacher or you as a brand. It's all about people. You'll have time to shape it in a marketing strategy. You'll have this possibility, and that's that's what you're gonna do at like this stage one. But like these conversations are they are crucial. They are super important.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for being my guest. I've learned a lot about B2B2C and it sounds really interesting and exciting. And I hope our audience has learned their benefit as well. Thank you, Yulia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michal. Yeah, it was a pleasure, and yeah, I continue learning, continue exploring, and this topic is fascinating to me. So, yeah, happy to learn from others, and yeah, thank you. It was great talk.